Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. So I was going through some of my things the other day, and I found a card sketch that I had designed but never made. So I thought it would be fun to share it with you. So here's the card. It's a patchwork style card. So you just need a couple of bits, 2 pieces of paper with different patterns. It works best if the patterns are contrasting somewhat. I've got my A6 card base here, but I have trimmed it to 14.5 by 10.5. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it because it means that the border on all 4 sides is equal. Okay, so for both of these pieces of paper, trim to 9.5 by 13.5. So that will fit perfectly on the front of the card. Then I'm going to do a diagonal from corner to corner. It doesn't matter which, just make sure that you do the same on both pieces of paper. The best way to make sure that you do that is to cut them together. But if you do them separately, make sure with the pattern facing you that you've got the cut going from the same top corner to bottom corner, otherwise it won't fit on the front of the card. So I'm just going to cut the diagonal . Okay. So then we'll take the triangle from one pattern and match it up with the triangle from the other pattern. So that's part 1 of the design. Then with these 2 pieces, we want to trim them down so that they fit inside these 2 pieces. So I'm going to trim it down. So this is at the moment, the long edge is 13.5. I'm going to trim it down to 10.5. Okay. Now we're going to swap the order around and put those 2 in there and that one in there. So that's pretty much the card almost done. Now we just need to have our floral embellishments. So with the pieces that left over, I've got this floral punch. It's about 4 or 5 centimeters, so about 2 inches wide. And I'm going to cut 1 piece from the stripy paper and 1 piece from the pinky paper. With this one, I'm going to try and keep the stripes going in the same direction. I'm not sure that it actually matters, but I think I'm going to try and do that. Okay? So that's that. And that's another one. All right, so that's all our elements ready. We just need to put it all together. If you have half square triangle dies, then obviously you can just use those straight away, or even rectangular dies, but I do have them, but they're not the right size, so that's why I'm doing it like this. Not half square triangles, half rectangle triangles. Okay, I'm just going to glue that I'm using is quite watery, so I'm just going to put something on top of it to stop it from warping quite so much. I'm just using my finger, to give it a more even coat, but also just to help it reach the edges. And then line the corners up as best you can. And glue that down, stick that down. Okay. Now for the contrasting smaller triangles. Protect my mat. And then try and leave a even kind of border around this one. And then glue this one on the green section. Again, trying to get an even border all the way around. Okay, so before I go ahead and stick the flowers down, it looks like it needs a bit of embellishment. So I'm going to use a fine liner to add some faux stitching around the edges. Okay, so you can see the stitching there just helps to lift the papers off the page and also separate them from each other. Now on this one, I added stitching to the flowers, and I also shaped the flowers so they're not sitting flat on the page. I'm not sure this situation if I should do the same or keep them, but I think I'm going to shape the flowers again because it looks a lot more interesting than having them just sitting flat. But before I do that, I'll do the stitching on these as well. So just go around the edges. Okay, And on these ones, I also added in like a stitchy center. So just draw a circle and then fill it with a vertical lines and then horizontal lines. You could just use like a small circle of a different colour, but I thought since it was all stitchy theme that it would work better. Like so. Okay, so we can go ahead and glue those, go ahead and shape those, and you can either do it with your fingers, or if you've got a some sort of a pencil or a pen. I don't like to do it like this because I inevitably rip off the petals. So what I tend to do is just, if you have a ball tool, that works best, but if you don't, I just use the end of a pen and work it along the petals like this, and then turn it over, and then smush it down in the middle, press it down in the middle, and that gives a nice shape. This one's being awkward. Okay, I'm going to glue this down. I'm trying to decide if it's important to follow the direction of the pattern. I'm not sure that it is, but I'm going to anyway. You can't really tell. Same with the stripes. Is it better to have them go vertically or to continue horizontally? I know I've got that the wrong way around. I think I'll have them going vertically to match the paper. Okay. And now for the sentiment. Just straighten this up a bit. I wasn't sure if I should use, I have a bunch of these sentiments that I made myself. So some of them are black on white, white on black, and some of them are white on black. I can't decide. I think because it's a white card base, I'm going to go with the white sentiment. You could play around with having them. No, I don't like that. Down here. I think I'll just stick it in the middle. Okay, but I think I'm going to go with the white sentiment. Oops. I'm just going to put some faux stitching around one of these and see what that looks like. I can't decide if that's what I want to do or not. And of course, oops. Okay, does that look better? Is it too much stitching? What do you think? This one? This one? This one? Yeah, so I spent ages trying to figure out which way to go. I think I'm just going to go with the black sentiment. Okay, so I just want to run through all the cards that I made. So this is the first one I did off camera. Where you can see I've positioned the triangles so that they've got a border all the way around. And then I reproduced that one. In this. Now in hindsight, this was the wrong choice of papers. They're both a little bit too busy. I think that for this, this layout to really work, it would work best with, high contrast papers, and also two patterns that don't clash as much as these two do. But having said that, it's not bad. Then for this one, I did exactly the same thing, but I left the flowers, I stuck them down completely flat instead of giving them a little bit of dimension. And also these inner triangles, I butted them up so that they meet all along this middle seam here, rather than having the border all the way around like in this one. I like the way that turned out. Now with this one, I did a landscape card. I took the triangles, and instead of aligning them to the middle, I aligned the corners, and that's a really nice look. Then I used a different sort of sentiment and put some gems and pearls on the card, and I really like that. I don't know if it's the colors or the layout or just like a combination. I also popped up the sentiment so that there's a little bit more dimension. I really like how that one turned out. And then I did the same thing on, just to show that it works with square cards as well. Again, I've put the two smaller triangles towards so that they meet in the middle. With this one, again, the contrast, the choice of papers wasn't the best. So when I put these flowers on, I couldn't really see, they didn't really stand out enough, they didn't pop off the background enough. So I went around with I did the initial faux stitch, and then I went around and did this other version of faux stitch. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It looks kind of stitchy, and it doesn't look bad actually, it's kind of nice. And then finally, exactly the same thing again. This one looks very quilty, but I just wanted to show you don't need to have flowers, you can use other shapes. So I used a heart here, but if you've got a butterfly or a star or, a different sort of shape, it works just as well. I've also used the white sentiment as well. So there you go. One idea done a number of different ways to give various different cards. And this is a really good way for like batch making. It's really simple and quick once you get into the swing of things. To make it even more even quicker, so for these cards, I cut two rectangles, one from one pattern and one from the other, and then I trimmed the bit that the larger bit, the second larger bit, down to make the smaller triangle. But what you could do instead is cut a large triangle and a small triangle, a large rectangle and a smaller rectangle, and then when you cut them in half, you'll have pieces for two cards. So you basically do two cards at once, and it's probably quicker than trimming down the remaining section to make it fit. Did that make any sense? I'm not sure if it did, but hopefully it did. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting more videos about card making, paper crafting, digital crafting, home decor, a whole range of things. So do keep coming back, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!